Good to see you back at the desk. The closer the examination gets, the more it rewards clarity over cramming. So let us keep building that clarity, one issue at a time. This is the Sociology Desk, issue 044. Two events today, both from paper 2, and for each one the concept, the thinkers, and the precise way to write it, so your answer reaches the 19-mark band. Let us begin. Our first event is unfolding on the edge of Bengaluru. The state has cleared a giant AI-themed township at Bidadi, acquiring around 7,500 acres of fertile, multi-cropped village land for a project worth over 18,000 crore rupees, against more than 400 days of farmer protest. Where does this sit? Paper 2. Industrialization and urbanization. The growth of urban settlements. The weak candidate writes a land protest story. You will write India's recurring agrarian question. So how do you open? Not with the protest. Open with the structural claim. Capitalist urbanization in India proceeds as enclave formation. Dense islands of finance and infrastructure built inside, but extracted from agrarian hinterlands. The AI city rises in one place while the milk and silk economy of the surrounding villages is quietly absorbed. That framing tells the examiner you are reading dispossession as a structural logic, not narrating a grievance. Your Indian anchor is A.R. Desai, and the concept is the path of development. From social background of Indian nationalism, Desai read the post-colonial Indian state as a mediator of capital that recomposes the peasantry under capital rather than emancipating it. The acquisition of 7,000 acres of multi-cropped land for an AI city, with small farmers absorbing the social cost, enacts that thesis live. As Desai argued, India would settle the agrarian question not by freeing the peasantry, but by recomposing it under capital. Now bring in your Western thinker, Manuel Castells, and the distinction between the space of flows and the space of places, from the rise of the network society. The AI city is designed for the space of flows, of global capital, algorithmic labor, and data. The villages it would absorb live in the space of places, of 6 lakh liters of milk supplied daily, of sericulture, of a perennial river. The metropolis of flows bypasses the space of places even as it depends on it. One Indian thinker, one Western thinker, exactly what the examiner wants. How to write it for marks. The 14-mark script narrates the protest and the compensation figures. The 19-mark script opens with enclave urbanization, names the acquisition framework. The LAR Act of 2013 deploys Desai on the path of development and Castells on flows versus places, and adds Pareto's circulation of elites to read the new political and real estate elite consolidating around the project. It can add Bataille's caution that money does not restore a small landholder's social position inside a thriving milk economy. It closes forward. Can urbanization be reorganized so the rural producer becomes a stakeholder, not a discounted input? Name the law, the thinkers, and the judgment. That is top band. Expect this, 20 marks, paper 2. In the light of recent land acquisition for AI-themed townships, critically examine A.R. Desai's claim that India's path of development reproduces agrarian dispossession. And a 10-marker, quote, the space of flows reshapes the space of places without erasing it, unquote, explain with reference to Castells. Hold Desai and Castells, and both are yours. Our second event returns to Manipur, but with a crucial shift. The conflict has mutated from a Kuki-Naga-Meitei binary into a Kuki-Naga-Meitei Triad, with fresh violence between Kukis and Nagas. Where does this sit? Paper 2, Tribal Communities, the issues of integration and autonomy, and ethnic conflict. The weak candidate calls it ancient tribal hatred. You will say something the examiner respects. Ethnic boundaries are not ancient. They are produced again and again through violence and classification. So how do you open? Never open with primordial hatreds. Open with the claim that ethnic conflict is the contemporary social production of boundaries through violence, classification, and territorial claim. The fault lines are not relics. They are made and remade in the present. That single sentence signals to the examiner that you reject the lazy primordial story and read ethnicity as constructed. Your anchor is Veena, and the concept is critical events and ordinary violence from life and words. Thus, reframes each killing not as an isolated rupture, but as a slow rearrangement of the world that ordinary people learn to inhabit inside families, villages, and relief camps. The recent killings are at once exceptional acts and the routinization of suffering, a social fact produced by the field, not by individuals alone. As thus argued, violence enters the everyday not as a single shattering event, but as a slow rearrangement of the world. Now deepen it with two more. G.S. Ghurye insisted that the classification of communities into tribes and castes is itself a political act, with material stakes for land and recognition. The Meitei demand for scheduled tribe status and the rigidity of the tribe schedule are being fought out inside that very classificatory space. And T.K. Oommen explains why citizenship has not dissolved these claims. The Indian polity layers an ethnic conception of nation over its civic constitutional one. So ethnic nation logic lodges itself inside the civic form, producing recurring crises at the frontier. How to write it for marks? The 14-mark script narrates the incidents and the dates. The 19-mark script opens with ethnic conflict as the social production of boundaries, names the classification frameworks being contested, scheduled tribe status, Pesa, the 6th schedule, deploys Veena on ordinary violence, Ghurye on classification as a political act, and Oommen on the civic versus ethnic nation. It draws the clean distinctions the examiner is hunting for: integration versus assimilation, autonomy versus isolation, noting that Elvin's isolation thesis is dated, but autonomy survives in Pisa. It closes on the limits of integration by classification. Distinctions, not narration, win the upper band. Expect this: 20 marks. Paper 2. In the light of the evolving Manipur conflict, critically examine the view that tribal ethnic boundaries are socially produced through classification and violence rather than inherited. Holdas, Ghurye, and Oommen draw the integration versus assimilation distinction explicitly, and the answer is yours. Let us revise. 1. The Bidadi AICT, read through A.R. Desai's Path of Development and Castells on the Space of Flows versus Places. The Agrarian Question, reopened by enclave urbanization. 2. The Manipur Triad, read through Veena on ordinary violence, Ghurye on classification as a political act, and Oommen on the civic versus ethnic nation, boundaries produced, not inherited, and the rule that decides your rank. Treat the event as evidence and make the theory the destination. That is today's brief. If you would like the full answer blocks and model answers for these events, just leave your email in the comments or write to us at team@upscdesk.com and our team will share the subscription details. I wish you the very best with your preparation. And remember, the path is long and progress is often invisible day to day. But the aspirant who keeps returning to the desk is building something the occasional studier never will. I will see you tomorrow.